Can do in the future and still continue that relationship with the Seattle Seahawks.
No question about it. Cam Meridian, so much young talent. You mentioned to me before the show, I'd like for you to open up about this. Uh, the amount of turnover in years past has been a lot more than it was this year. Your roster was so young. Moving forward, you said, what was it, 8 out of 11 starters coming back offensively?
Yeah, so we plan on going into next season with about 8 kids that started 5 or more games on offense and 7 on defense. And we have, a lot of linemen coming back. And I think, we were so young on the offensive line that it's only going to help out. I mean, at one point we started 3 freshmen on the offensive line, and it's tough to win on a varsity level with that.
Oh, yeah.
But the drive that those kids have, and I mean, they're already ready to start working out. We're kind of already putting, we want to give them some time off to kind of let their bodies rest. But at the same time, they're 14, 15-year-old kids, and they probably recover a lot faster than I plan on at 42.
And quite a bit of freshmen on that squad this year.
Yeah, ton. I mean, 2/3 of our roster were freshmen or sophomores.
Right.
And so and it showed, unfortunately, with mistakes we made, and I mean, just those little things. And that's one thing we always talked about as a staff was finish every play, finish every game, don't give up. Don't lose hope, and that's hard when you're getting beat.
Yeah.
But we just kept harping on the kids, and we didn't stop coaching as a staff, and I think that's important. We came in every week with a good game plan that put us in a position. If we executed it to our best ability, we had a chance to win.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things we look back on that, if this had happened in this, but at the end of the day, we want to get better every day. We want to teach these young men how to become good husbands, fathers. And all that. And that, to me, is the bigger picture than the wins and losses. Now, don't get me wrong. I dislike losing with a passion.
Everybody does, I feel like.
Yeah. So, but, I had a friend tell me you learn more from a loss than a win. And we learned a lot from 9 losses this year that's only going to, benefit us in the future. I mean, we have this conversation in 5 years. Hopefully it's, hey, guys, we just played a playoff game last night. We're getting ready to play, these guys. And that's the kind of conversations I want to have. And, watching kids play in college. And, I plan on going and visiting Tua, who is playing at Montana State.
Yeah.
Plan on going and seeing him on the 23rd. driving out there with my son, and
That's great.
excited, and still keeping that, and that's that. At the end of the day, that's what matters. I mean,
Yeah.
still keeping in touch with these kids, and they come back to the games and have a good time, and sometimes they remember things that you didn't remember, which is great, and they let you know, and
things that you didn't see at practice. You know.
Mm-hmm. So you're like, oh, great, thanks. I didn't realize that was happening.
Yeah. So one name down the road that I know we're gonna look back and we're just gonna be talking about this guy because he's gonna be a great player, Xavier Robinson.
Yeah. Xavier. Yep. X Factor.
Yeah. I coached him as a freshman. Out there, just the football IQ on the field, great hustle, always running to the ball, making a play. The Ray Lewis of the defense, I would say, in terms of heart and willpower and what he's able to do. What could you say about Xavier Robinson moving forward, and why has he been able to jump on tape so often in his first 2 years?
I think part of it is just he doesn't quit. He has a motor, and that's hard. You can't teach heart, and you can't teach a motor, right? I'm excited because he's ready to get in the weight room, and I think he's had that commitment. It's wavered in the past, but I don't think that's going to be a problem going forward. He's doing really well in school, and honestly, that's 0-9 is no fun, but our grades have never been higher.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what matters. Student athlete, and we want them to be students first. And so, watching him grow on the field and then also in the classroom, and I mean, from where he was a year ago. I mean, I know his parents are proud of him, the way he's worked. As coaches, we're really proud of him, and he's kind of the leader out there, and he emerged as the leader. Going into the season, if you would have asked me who would have been our best defensive player, unfortunately, his name wouldn't have come up.
Yeah.
And then hopefully with the work ethic that I've seen, this season, going into this offseason, I mean, he's going to have a monster junior year. I've already talked to coaches about him in college.
That's great.
I mean, they're excited, and we've got some other young guys out there, and a lot of defensive players that did good this year. Unfortunately, offensively we struggled, but we saw a lot of good things. We have a lot of young guys playing. We had 3 freshmen starting the other night. At receiver.
Oh.
And so we call them skinny bodies, right? So we've got a lot of young skinny bodies out there where they're stepping with the wrong foot. Their stance is, they're still looking at their band trying to figure out the play, and the play's going on. They're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
But then in the next play, they all do it perfectly, and they block for each other and they play for each other. So you can't get too mad. I mean, I don't wear a hat on the sidelines because I throw them. So I go out there with nothing on, just because you can't get too frustrated, because at the end of the day, some of them are only 13 years old.
Right.
I can see some of the frustration come out, but I think you do a great job when it comes to, no matter the circumstances of the game, there's always an opportunity, I feel like, to make it a learning opportunity for your players. Like for example, at the end of the season, I saw a player maybe lose frustration at the end of the game, out of bounds at the sideline, try to get in a bit of a fight with the opposing team or player, and you took him aside, regardless of what the score was, and you let him know that's not the right way to deal with those kind of frustrations. And I think that goes a longer way than just on the gridiron.
100%. And that young man is a great kid. One of our seniors that was there every single day from last year till now.
So you know which situation I'm talking about.
I do.
Okay.
And some kids handle adversity differently. And this year we really harped on adversity and dealing with it and going through these issues that happen. And I mean, in life you're going to be faced with things that are tough. I love being a dad, but I also sometimes just like, oh my gosh, and I mean, there's nothing I would change about it, but there's a lot of things that happen, and I'm an older brother. I mean, I have 4 younger sisters, and I deal with that. And
you're always saying I'm never going to be like my dad, but it always slowly turns into that.
Yeah, and but just dealing with adversity and pulling them aside and letting them know that, hey, you can't react that way. I mean, you're going to get into a job someday, and it's going to be a bad day. You can't just start lashing out at everybody, because the next step is you're going to be unemployed, and you're going to be wondering, who's going to feed me, and so you can't do that as a husband and a father. You got to think bigger picture. So, and it's I mean, the heat of the moment. I mean, I know I've probably said some things I shouldn't have or done, and
Right.
You can't take that back, and you learn. I mean, I'm not perfect by any means, but I mean, that's what you want to teach these kids is the football is just a game. in this little life that we play.
Yeah, no question about it. Right now, let's shift to this. It's time for the Boelt's Brutal Breakdown. 2 brutally honest takeaways from this previous week of the NFL season right now. We're going to get into it. Nick, will you take us away? What are your 2 takeaways from last week?
I got some pretty interesting ones, and they're polar opposites from one another. 2 different teams, but 2 different stories, and I'm going to start from 2 on up. I believe that the Oakland Raiders are returning to a winning culture, a big monumental win this last Thursday night, beating the Los Angeles Chargers 26-24. I actually was able to predict the score exactly to the point, and the Raiders were able to come up with the upset at home in the black hole. Derek Carr is slowly but surely improving, I believe. I mean, in that game in and of itself, in the beginning, in the first half, he was missing his targets, overthrowing, underthrowing, not feeling comfortable in the pocket. But when the second half came around, things started to change, and he had a final line of 21 for 31, good completion percentage for 218 yards. Didn't have to throw it too much and got himself a passing touchdown as well. The defense came out of nowhere in this game. Raiders were arguably one of the worst defenses. On the uprise. But now going on to the other side, the pessimistic side, so to speak, getting a loss on the road against a tough defense, the Denver Broncos. But since our guest coach Cal is here on the show today, I know he wants to mention the Browns and how he's right about how bad they were going to be this year. And he even kind of gave me a hard time before the show started about how he was right about the Browns, and he absolutely is. I'm on his bandwagon. The Browns are done. They're done. 6 losses already. No more room for error, and there's going to be more errors for this team. Baker Mayfield threw the ball way too many times if they want to win a ball game. 27 for 42, 273 yards, and a touchdown. The running game was, I would say, mediocre. Again, I think Baker Mayfield's producing too many commercials. I think it's a close race between how many touchdown passes he has compared to how many commercials he's been in. I think that's an issue in and of itself. Poorly managed, poor coaching in Cleveland. I don't know. I still it loses it. I get lost in my mind when I try and think about who the head coach of the Cleveland Browns is. I always forget, so I have to look him up right now because he seems so forgettable. Freddie Kitchens. I don't know where he came from. It seems like the decisions for the coaching staff has just been absurd and questionable. The Browns, they have a lot of talent on this roster, but it's not being well managed. They're 2-6. The Browns are done. Those are my 2 takeaways. Raiders are going the right way. The Browns are going the wrong way.
You know, I almost consider it a little bit cheating to talk about the Raiders this week because it's last week. But I'm right there with you. One of my takeaways might just be about the Raiders as well.
They're really looking really good.
You know, let's go to Cal for this one. Cal, take us away with your takeaways.
So, what was that?
Calvin Domingo, excuse me. Sorry. Cal, I'm not picking you up. There might be a mic issue over there. Let's go to you, Coach Cal of Cameroonian football. Take us away.
So my 2 takeaways from last week, watching the later games. Unfortunately, we had our coaches meeting during the early games, but Green Bay versus the Chargers. You know, heard a lot about what was going on down there. Sounds like Aaron Rodgers was disappointed with some of his fellow teammates, and looks like he said it was the LA flu. Which is, you know, I mean, you travel down there from Green Bay, it's cold, it's wet and rainy up there. You go down to LA, beautiful, sunny, and you kind of get those distractions. So it sounds like Green Bay didn't handle their road travel, got a little bit too distracted. Maybe they had the same issue as James Harden. You know, as you mentioned earlier.
Oh yeah, a little bit. Focused on some other things.
Focus on other stuff, and you know. But hey, it's a good time to have it halfway through the season here. You know, maybe that's something that they can fix and move forward and learn from. And that's what you hope as a coach is, you know, traveling. It's a little bit harder. You get out of your comfort zone and kind of do that stuff.
Yeah.
My other takeaway from it is I think Baltimore's the best team in the AFC. As bad as that sounds, I mean, it might be crazy to say, but I don't.
That's
think,
pretty crazy.
I don't think I think New England's great, but I think Baltimore has that swagger. They came in, they beat the Seahawks.
You're sleeping on KC. What about KC?
You know what?
They're winning games without Pat, and now Pat's back.
Yeah, but they still don't have a defense. And then when it comes down to
you
playoff
tell that
football,
to Green Bay and Minnesota.
Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, you come out you play at any of those other two places. I think Kansas City travels to New England or Baltimore. They have defenses. They know how to play. And I don't think, unfortunately, Kansas City has a good defense at all.
Okay.
They picked up some players, but I just think schematically, I don't think they run their cover 2 or cover 4 very well.
It's not a well-oiled machine.
I don't think so at all. And we haven't seen the production from the D line that they expected.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Baltimore. Lamar Jackson had a coming out party, and he looked great. Playing in that game.
He's looking like I'm not sure if the Patriots even have the best defense in the league. It's tough. I mean, they really got exposed against the Ravens. Lamar Jackson seemed to have his way, and I think using the whole field sideline to sideline is one of the kryptonites for this Patriots defense. They got to make some adjustments.
Yeah, and they couldn't put the Ravens in a box, which I think they like to do. You watch the Super Bowl last year. The Patriots put the Rams in a box and dictated the game defensively. And I don't think you can do that because Lamar Jackson can throw and run. And that adds a new wrinkle. I mean, you have to assign a guy just to play against Lamar Jackson, which is difficult.
Right.
Fast.
That could definitely make things difficult. That pistol formation, running it more than the rest of the league combined.
Yeah, it's crazy.
A unique offense. John Harbaugh really embracing Lamar Jackson. Give him credit for it.
Yeah,
because
Harbaugh's a great coach. I mean, we talk about Bill Belichick as one of the greatest coaches. I mean, look what Harbaugh's done over the years with, arguably not as good talented quarterback, there. So
right. Okay, so I'll take it away then. So one of my takeaways, I talked about cheating with you, Nick, because the Raiders.
Got to give a shout out to those guys. Come on.
It was on Thursday night. So what I have to say about the Raiders is that they are back, baby. Derek Carr seems to be the guy for this offense right now. Great completion percentage, not on Thursday Night Football. It was okay, 20 for 31.
I would say it's acceptable.
It's acceptable, and that's the key. But on the year, phenomenal completion percentage, solid win, game-winning drive. You and I both predicted that the Raiders would win, but you predicted the score exactly.
26-24. They did 2 point. The Raiders were the underdogs, but I was just like, I think the Raiders were going to be down 24-23. It turned out the Raiders were down 24-20. They get the touchdown, and I was like, oh my goodness, they missed the extra point, and the score lined up perfectly. And I'm just like, if the Raiders stop them here, like my prediction is just 100%. And that ended up being what the story was. And Phillip Rivers just could not stop throwing interceptions.
Right, John Gruden on the sideline just furious after that kick. I don't blame him.
Oh yeah.
Well, hey, knock on wood if you're with me.
Yeah,
maybe, man.
So the Raiders are back. That is my first takeaway. But my second takeaway, and allow me to change a little bit for this one. The Cleveland Browns.
Oh wow.
Level with me. We're both on the same two teams.
Yeah, we're on the exact same page.
The Cleveland Browns are the NFL's version of prison.
Oh.
Have you ever seen the show Beyond Scared Straight? So it's about kids that commit crimes at a young age. They bring a bunch of troubled teams into jail and have unstable inmates scare them into being good. You guys have seen the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, OBJ never thought he would go to prison. He was drafted 12th overall, had the catch in his rookie season, and was a celebrity baller in the biggest market in the U.S. What could go wrong? Well, he started to become a diva.
After the Giants defeated the Redskins on New Year's Day, Ben McAdoo decided to give the boys Monday off. Big mistake, Ben. Big mistake. Odell Beckham Jr., Victor Cruz.
of being a drama queen. And then Odell proposed to a kicking net. New York signed him to a major contract extension just 1 year before trading him to the NFL's version of prison. The Cleveland Browns. Now he's locked up in the place where they went 0-16 a couple years back. Now I'm going to play some clips, and I want you guys, I need your guys' help with this one. I'm going to play some clips, and I want you to tell me, is this Odell Beckham Jr. in a press conference? Or is it something that I pulled from Beyond Scared Straight?
So we had an opportunity. We had some opportunities. We didn't make the most of them. I know that gets redundant saying, but just got to work on it. Like I say, it sucks to say, but that's all you can do. We can keep moving forward, or we can keep looking behind in the rearview. So that's all we can worry about.
Okay, what do you guys think that was?
I think that was an easy one from the start.
Yeah.
I think
That one
will
was
go
Odell?
with OBJ, yeah.
Okay. How about this guy?
My name Jerron, how y'all doing? I just turned 17. My first day here, it was like hell.
That's tough.
I mean, I feel like both of them can relate to that story.
Yep. Yeah. No, definitely some similarities there. How about this
My
guy?
message to the kids is that I'm you if you don't change.
Which one was that? Odell in a press conference or a kid in prison?
That's a tough decision.
You know, that one might be a toss-up here. Let me give you
that could be Odell or anybody at Miami.
a little bit more inclusive.
This officer right here, this is Officer Carr. A few months before I came, he told me, watch the people you hang out with. You know, I messed up. Look where I'm at now. Grown man. Hey, let me get a suit. Nah. Give me that suit. They take your suit when you gotta fight.
That could be the dog pound or jail.
And you know what's sad? Both colors are orange. Uh-oh.
You know, that one just might not be a coincidence. Unfortunately, I have to bring that up.
The dialogue could be matched with either side. That's the funniest part about it.
Yeah.
Right. You know, if there was a voice changer or something, you know, we could have tinkered with it a little bit more. But on that note, we are actually going to go to break right now. We'll be right back in about 5 minutes with some AFC NFL playoff predictions, and we'll get you Cal's thoughts right after this. Stay tuned. You're home for Saturday Morning Sports on 89.9 KGRG, The Bolt.
You can't hear me right now.
We're testing it out right now. I'm sorry.
Try talking into the mic. Try talking into the mic. Try speaking into the mic.
Yo.
You can go on air. Yeah.
Hello?
Let's see. I'm gonna keep it on. I'm gonna try and listen to you in the other room.
I'm saying. Like, it's the whole system.
Graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier.
My daughter Brooklyn was also a motivation for me to go back to school.
Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
We got it situated right now. So, Calvin, if I am correct, we will be able to hear you if you talk. Calvin. Oh, still not working for Calvin. So, at this point in time, what we are going to do is move on to the AFC playoff predictions right now. We got the brackets in front of us. I want to go to you, Nick, for this one. What do you got for us?
Well, I'm going to start off with bottom up. I'm going to go to the top seeds at the last moment. Actually, you know what? I'm going to switch it around because the way I look at it right now on my paper, there's a lot more drama on the bottom than there is on the top. I think it's a little more predictable what kind of teams we're going to be seeing in the first round buys as well as some of the division winners. So I'll stop stalling now and I'll continue with my bracket predictions. Number 1 seed, I don't think they're the best team in the AFC at the moment, but I have to say they have one of the easier schedules in terms of being in the AFC East, getting to play the Dolphins and Jets all the time. Bills are a tough team to face, but I think the Patriots, they got a lot of teams they get to face that are not even close to their league, and they're going to get the number 1 seed. The playoffs will go through New England, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have the biggest edge throughout the dance. So I'm going to put them there at number 1. But then moving on to number 2,
okay.
And these could be some legitimate challengers for these Patriots, and these guys actually just gave New England their first loss of the season. I think these guys are going to win the AFC North. They're going to get a first-round bye under Lamar Jackson, the Ravens. Instead, of the Cleveland Browns. I switched the two teams around. I was wrong about the Browns. I thought they were going to be the kings of the North, but actually Lamar Jackson and company. And you want to compare the two quarterbacks. Jackson, way more athletic. I believe he's actually a smarter quarterback than Baker Mayfield. He just doesn't flaunt it as much.
Both on Dylan's fantasy squad.
Yeah, and
to start the year.
It's tough to talk about, I know, but you got to respect the Ravens for taking the king off the hill. I think they're going to continue this momentum and always keep in the back of their minds that we can beat New England, so we can beat anybody. And I think they're going to ride that into the playoffs. They're going to get a high seed at number 2. Based on the comparison of the schedules with New England and Baltimore, I see New England coming out on top at the end of it all. But watch out for those Ravens. They'll get that bye in that number 2 seed. Going on to number 3 now, and this team, we want to count them out. We want to count them in, depending on who's behind center. At quarterback, it's been a big debate whether to keep them in or out of the Power 7 with their starter. The Kansas City Chiefs are getting Patrick Mahomes back for Week 10, and they were able to win some ball games without him, with Matt Moore just coming off a win with Matt being under center against the Vikings, and I even picked the Vikings. I hated to pick them, being rivals with my Packers, but the Chiefs, they pulled it out, and I was a very happy guy when I saw the result of that game. It was unexpected, and now they have some out-of-nowhere momentum ready to return for Patrick Mahomes, so watch out for these Chiefs. I see them now with the huge edge winning this AFC North. They are number 3. Going up to number 4, winning the South, I think this is like the wild card division where there's a lot of teams that could get this division, and you can't really take anything away from either side. It's come down to the Colts and Texans at this point, but I'm going to give the edge to the team that I think has a better situation with their quarterback, Deshaun Watson. I think he's a top 5, if not 10 MVP candidate right now in the season. The Houston Texans will win the South, get the number 4 seed led by Deshaun, and their defense, their front 7, they can do some damage with J.J. Watt as well. And so Houston,
he's gone for the year.
I think still they have a pretty stout front 7. Their defense is always usually consistently on a good stand with Bill O'Brien being head coach. So Houston's going to win the division. They will get the number 4 seed, get one home playoff game against the number 5 seed. And after I looked at this team's schedule, I figured they're going to get at least 10 wins, in my opinion, based on the weakness of schedule combined with how great this defense can be. The Buffalo Bills will go into the playoffs and be on the road to take on the Houston Texans in that first round. Frank Gore is like, he's testing the age of time, and he's still running like a maniac out there, even though he is well past the prime age of being a running back, but he's still playing like he's in his 20s.
I almost picked him up in fantasy.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. He's right on the bubble, it seems like, and you have to imagine, like, why would he even be on the bubble at this age? But fact of the matter is, he's there. He's proud to be there. The Bills are proud to be where they're at right now. They are not too far from clinching a playoff spot. I don't see them winning the East with New England, but I definitely see him having a solid lock for a wild card spot. Bills will get that top wildcard spot at number 5. They'll go into Houston to face the Texans in that first round. And then giving the final...
Don't do it.
The final seed, it's really tough. I had a combination of 4 teams I had to pick from. That Thursday night game really led me to believe that the Oakland Raiders are going to go into the playoffs, ride this momentum. This game Thursday night was a season changer for these Oakland Raiders. They hadn't been at home. They had back-to-back home games, beating the Lions, now the Chargers, in the black hole. They hadn't been at home for 7 weeks prior to that point, and seeing John Gruden interact and celebrate with the fans at the end of it all, you got to know he's got to be fired up for the season. And there is not just a flicker of hope, there is a shining bright light of hope for these Raiders, not even just to get a wild card. I think they're going to battle with the Chiefs in and out throughout the season for that Western title, but at the end of the day, I think both sides are going to get a spot, and they're both going to be facing off against each other in that first round. Raiders-Chiefs in that first wild card round in Kansas City.
That will be a matchup if that does come true. What I think is so interesting and kind of disappointing, you would think with a student-run station there'd be less cheating going on. Last week, NorbCam comes, visits the show, and almost identically copies my playoff bracket, trying to take credit for, my wisdom. And then today, I let Nick go before me, and he literally pulls out the exact same bracket that I have. So
we're thinking alike right now. You got me on the takeaways and now the bracket. Jeez.
Yeah, apparently we're just copying each other's notes today. So my number 1 team, the Patriots, I think they finish at 13-3. I don't believe in this 14-2 hoo-ha. I think something's going to go wrong with them, and they're going to finish with 3 losses at least. Their offense has not been elite this season. They've played weak competition, and it showed as soon as they played Baltimore. I predicted the loss to Baltimore. I predict they're going to lose probably about 2 more games this year. The next team, like Nick said, the Ravens, I think they're going to be the 2 seed. The tiebreaker, they do not have it against the Chiefs, but I don't think they're going to need it because I think the Chiefs are going to lose a couple more games than the Ravens will. The Chiefs have a tough schedule down the stretch. The Ravens finished 12-4, putting them with a first-round bye. The 3 seed, the Chiefs, 11-5. I think I hope Pat Mahomes comes back strong. But either way, they've proven that they can win without him. Beating the Vikings, that's a good team. Shows well-roundedness, excellent coaching. When they're all buckled in, they're all buckled in. They're playing together for each other. There's just the environment in Kansas City showed some strength, really flexed their muscle against the Vikings at home. And then Harrison Butker, now being regarded as one of the best kickers in the NFL. Give him credit for having the guts to knock down back-to-back field goals to tie and then take the lead in that ball game.
It's been tough for kickers this year.
And Butker's just succeeding. Excellent job by Butker. Give him a lot of credit. The 4th seed, I agree with you, Nick. Texans, 11-5. I think they're going to finish at the top of their division. The Colts have a pretty tough schedule down the stretch.
So how close do you think it's going to be between Indianapolis and Houston?
I think it's going to be very close. But I think in the final couple of games, that's when the final separation is going to happen. They're going to have a shot until like week 16. I don't think I think week 16 is where the Colts are eliminated from the division because I have the Colts as the first out at 9-7. I agree with you as the wild cards. The first one's going to be the Bills at 11-5. I think they're gonna slow down a bit down the stretch of the season just because they're the Bills.
They had such a good start though. It's like they have so much room for errors to still get the wild card.
No question about it. And then my final wild card. The reason I didn't want you to do this one was because I wanted the Thunder. Those Raiders, 10-6, 5-4 right now, playing good ball. We saw it on Thursday. It's something about the energy, something about the environment, something about the Red Rocket head coach.
I mean, you
John
saw
Gruden.
You saw John Gruden celebrating with the fans in the crowd. You know, he got some black face paint on him. He was fired up.
Derek Carr. You know, you guys know I'm a press conference guy. I listen to a lot of press conferences because I like to see, okay, this is what they're gonna say just to get the audience, just to get the press conference over with. But I look for the intention behind it. So with Derek Carr in his press conference, he opened up and post game. A lot of people see it's going viral. He was crying. But basically talking about how times have been rough between him and the organization. They didn't know if he was going to be the guy, and of course he's the one hearing about it. He's getting hate from fans, all this stuff. But he breaks it down. He says, it brings it all back to the fact that he loves winning with these fans. He loves winning for these guys, and it's really a great moment for him on Thursday Night Football in front of the national audience before they go to Vegas. All these questions about is Derek Carr going to be the guy? That really affirmed that he is going to be their guy going into Vegas. They guaranteed it. The Raiders organization did. Derek guaranteed it. He's having a good year. Great completion percentage on the season. Very emotional moment for him, really just winning over his audience and the game by having one more drive than Phillip Rivers. And wasn't that just the most stereotypical Phillip Rivers' finish to a game?
I find it the most stereotypical Charger performance in 1 week when it comes to playing 2 games. Literally Jekyll and Hyde with the Chargers. They played like the Patriots against the Packers in Los Angeles on Sunday, and then they came out and looked like the Browns on Thursday, throwing 3 interceptions.
I hate to say it, but the question becomes, was it good Chargers or was it bad Packers?
Probably a combination of both. That's usually always the case, but the Chargers definitely look like 2 totally different teams in those 2 games.
Yeah,
Definitely.
No question about it. So I have the Raiders closing out the playoffs in the AFC. Once again, Patriots, Ravens, Chiefs, Texans, Bills, Raiders. My first out is the Colts, and I think it's by record. I think they're going to have a tough stretch in the season. Jacoby Brissett, what is the status with him? They're saying he has a chance to play Sunday. I don't know what's the deal with that. Jacoby Brissett, the injury looked ugly. I was watching when it happened. I didn't like that. The Steelers able to pull it out. The Steelers competing for the playoffs in the AFC. They still think they got a shot. I think the Colts, they're gonna start to decline now. On their third-string quarterback, Brian Hoyer came in and threw for 3 touchdowns, but he also threw for 2 picks.
The games were already so close with Brissett under center, and now they got Brian Hoyer, who is a veteran, and it's still going to continue to be close ball games, which is why I think that at the end of the day, this Colts squad is going to get gassed at the end of the season, just based on how intense each and every game has been.
His longest touchdown pass of the day was 90-something yards to Minka Fitzpatrick of the Steelers defense. Not his best pass right there. But I think the Colts are going to take a couple steps back towards the end of the season. They're still a phenomenal roster. I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to edge the Raiders because they have a better record right now. But I think down the stretch of the season, they're going the wrong way and the Raiders are going the right way. Coach Callender, let's go to you.
We had pretty much all similar picks, but I'm surprised I didn't hear the Browns from you guys here.
You had to mention it before the show. Why do you have to go on the air and insult me now?
Mostly a Calvin thing. Calvin was the big seller.
And then we didn't hear anything like you guys didn't pick the Bills, but now I see the Bills are up here too. It's weird how I called that. Anyway, so I think the Ravens will be the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think they both, Patriots and Ravens, finish at 13-3. But due to the head-to-head, I think that the Ravens.
So just one more loss on the season.
They'll both be 13-3. Yeah, the Ravens. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't think that they. Just looking at their schedule, I don't see anything that's too crazy. The only thing that would affect them might be weather in late December.
Did you predict Baltimore beating the beating the Patriots?
Yeah, at the beginning of this season, I think I had them both going to the AFC.
No. I mean before the game.
Like. Yeah.
Did you have Baltimore?
Yep, definitely. I'm a Baltimore fan, but besides, I root for anybody that has a bird. Besides, just
the
kidding.
Cardinals.
I love the Seahawks, but
not the Cardinals, right?
No, definitely not the Cardinals
and
or
so
the 49ers.
That's what I would challenge, though, because one would say I'm making the claim it was predictable that the Ravens were going to win that game because they're at home. It's Sunday Night Football. They're juiced up. It's division rival, and they're coming off a bye with a great head coach. Great head coaches are great off byes. Yeah. Bill Belichick now getting a chance to look at things. I think the Patriots are going to come out stronger on the other side. I think the Ravens had everything going in their favor on that night.
Well, yeah, I would agree. There's a lot of things going for their favor, and you never know how you're going to match up against a team. Your defense might have this. You might have this player, this overhang guy that matches up better on your number 2 receiver. So you never know how a team works, right? But at the same time, I think they're younger and they want it. If you look at their roster, I think the average year was 6 years in the NFL, right? Where I think the Patriots are 8 or 9.
30.
Yeah, you might not,
somewhere up there.
Yeah, that might not seem a lot, but it is. And you can look at a lot of different factors for why people play hard in the NFL, right? Is it for that next contract? Is it for this? And those young guys are possibly for the Ravens playing for another contract.
But you mentioned like you are worried possibly about the Ravens playing in intense climate conditions like rain. I'm not sure I would agree with that based on they run the ball a lot. And are you worried about like the fumbling? Because I haven't seen too much of that in effect with this Baltimore offense.
I mentioned that only because that has an adverse effect, right? That kind of brings you down. And if you're going up to New England or if you're in, Pittsburgh late December.
Or even Kansas City, one of the loudest stadiums. Yeah.
And so, there's some things that do affect you there. But I still think the Ravens are the team to beat in the AFC. As much as I hate to say that with one of my best friends being a huge Ravens fan. Yeah,
yeah. You saw the bet that I lost with him to do push-ups on the show.
And then you can't count out the Patriots as long as Bill Belichick's there. I don't think it matters who the coach or who the quarterback is, but their coaching is top notch.
Well, he's like the guru of adjustments.
Geez, it's unbelievable, and what he sees in film, it just. Like I've seen some things that he does, and I can't wait till him and Nick Saban show comes out on HBO.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's next week or the next, before Thanksgiving. And I'm excited to kind of see that and see kind of what they look at. Because, you look at the film and you're like, I didn't even see that at all. You're like, holy cow. So
subtle keys.
Yes, yeah. And for number 3 seed, just like you guys, I have the Chiefs. I don't see anybody, I'm not a fan. I like the Chiefs a little bit, but it's
even Patrick Mahomes at like 70% scares me.
Yeah, 100%. He's just such a great dynamic player that you can't teach that. They just have no defense, and I'll say that to the end of the time is I'm not impressed with their defense. I don't know if it's schematically.
How did you feel they did against Denver?
Well, Denver's Denver.
Denver put up some points against that Green Bay defense.
I think Denver is one of the more underrated teams in the league. They just had a very tough schedule, and they've had quarterback issues too.
100%. I think
Good backs though. Royce Freeman, Philip Lindsay.
Yeah, no, great. And their defense is awesome. I think I have them in a couple fantasy teams too. So I mean,
Hey,
they're
they got
always-
some good pieces.
Yeah, so they're good. For my number 4 Texans, I think Texans win the AFC South.
Okay.
I think they have a better offense than the Colts. Like head-to-head matchups.
When you just look straight up at their quarterback situations.
Yeah. But then I obviously I have the Bills. I think the Bills are going to be a team to be reckoned with. I think they're 12 and 14, 12 and 4, 11 and 5. I think they're one of the better teams that we have out there. It's exciting to kind of see them play.
The Chargers of last season.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
I think they lost to New England at home in like week 2 or 3. I think they go into New England and beat them because they have to kind of prove a point. So I think that's going to be a fun game to watch.
I think that's going to be great because the New England's weakest point to the team is playing tough defenses. They almost lost to Buffalo in that first game. 16-10, New England won. I think you might be right. It could be going the other way.
Yeah, and I mean I think the quarterback threw four terrible picks. I mean just like I think he closed his eyes and just threw it right. Which happens a lot to us lately. And then I think the Colts are actually the number 6 seed, and the reason why I take the Colts, as an O-line guy, and a run guy first, and that's tough, being a spread team at KM. I think their O-line is the best in the league. I mean, I think they're better than Dallas. Quentin Nelson is like the man. I mean, I send YouTube videos not only to my son, Parker, but I also send it to our O-line kids. I'm like, hey, this week watch this Quentin Redmond video, right? And it's just amazing. So I think that the Colts win out there. Unfortunately, I think the Raiders are the first team out. And, I mean, I like the Raiders. My one of my best friends, our offensive coordinator, Anthony Bogan, loves the Raiders. All he talks about. But Raiders. But I just think they have an easy schedule, but I just don't think they have all the pieces yet. I think they're young. I don't think that they have – I love Keelan Doss. I love their receivers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they made some bonehead mistakes the other night. I think their tight end, which is – that guy's a great story watching
he's a talent.
Hard Knocks, yeah. But the guy overcoming, all that stuff is amazing, and I think that should be highlighted more in the NFL. But I think that the guys, I just don't think they're there. I think next year they're going to fall off. A move to a new city. I mean, I can't even
distractions.
I can't even imagine the
James Harden effect.
And I don't.
Vegas.
I don't even blame you for putting the Colts at number 6 too, because when I compare the head coaches to other teams,
and that's
Frank Reich. I've been saying this guy's name on the show a lot, and I got a lot of praise for him. I think he's one of the smartest minds in the NFL. And even when he was at quarterback, I would even match him up against Bill O'Brien with Houston, and I might even lean towards Frank Reich in that mindset.
No question about that one.
Yeah,
Bill O'Brien.
So if there's any edge the Colts have, it's Frank Reich's ability to make adjustments and evolve a game plan around the pieces that he has.
Well, and I think, I even have it written down here. Coaching is the reason why. And I think, too, is I think they believe. I think the players believe in Frank Reich. I don't necessarily think that they believe in Gruden.
My biggest whoa.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
But see, to me, I watched the Thursday night game, and I thought it was fake.
Wow.
Interesting.
Just watching him, I felt like he's being forced to do that kind of stuff. Like Gruden. I don't know if that's necessarily his MO.
So you think he's putting on a show?
Yeah, I do. I mean, that sounds
for
weird.
10 years.
It's only been 2 so far.
Yeah, but just didn't seem right. I watch Hard Knocks, right? I watch anything about football, and watching Hard Knocks, when they were interviewing him, and I think he went and was watching his son do some UFC fights.
Yep.
And just his interaction with people was off.
I think John Gruden in general is just kind of an off kind of guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, you don't have to be hunky-dory and hug everybody.
To that point, here's the thing with John Gruden. John Gruden is not just a football coach. He's a TV personality.
Yes.
And even though he left TV, he's a personality. He wanted Hard Knocks down there, and he wanted it to be the John Gruden show. So everything that happened in Hard Knocks is a lot different than what's going on in the season. I feel like he's a different man in front of all those cameras, and I feel like in front of the spotlight on Thursday night, you're sensing some dishonesty, some unrealness. The fact that he's putting on a show. I feel like he's putting on a show, yes, but I feel like he's definitely invested into that squad. Signing a 10-year deal, I think Frank Wright, they definitely believe in him in Indy. But my biggest concern with Indy, like I said, I love their offensive line. I love their run game. You coached me in offensive line, so I understand your ways. My biggest concern is that their backup quarterback just got hurt, and now it's Brian Hoyer.
Well, technically, he's not a backup quarterback. I mean, Andrew Luck retired. So, I mean, I guess it's tomato, right? But, I look at the coaching side of, if you look at who successful coaches are, it's not necessarily the brash guy, the guy that's like, look at me, this is my bravado, and this is what I have. It's that quiet guy. Like, who would assume 10 years ago that Bill Belichick would be who he is? I mean, the guy doesn't even own a tie, I don't think, right? But, you get these other guys who are coming, look at me, hey, here I'm this. And you look at successful, not only coaches, but businesses, it's not always that rah-rah guy that is like, hey, here I am, this is me. I came from...
Who are some rah-rah coaches that you're seeing?
So... Would you say Gruden is one of them?
I would say Gruden is one of them. A fiery kind of guy like that.
So what are your thoughts on Pete Carroll then? Because I see a lot of similarities.
I do, but I think
between him and Gruden,
when it comes to being rah-rah,
you are ridiculous, Nick.
I think he's more.
Humble.
Don't get me wrong. Pete Carroll is like my coaching hero, right?
Okay.
And besides, I can't draw a name at Penn State right now, but he's amazing too.
Yeah.
But I think. It's genuine. I don't know. I feel like you can see through fakeness. I feel like you can see, like if you see somebody.
He doesn't put on a show.
I don't think so. I mean, he chews his gum. He wears his like old man shoes, right? And you get Pete every time. Is that who Pete is, right?
Yeah.
Old man wise.
Yeah. And I feel like, you look at him, you believe in him, and you're like, okay. Like, I mean, first glance, even if he wasn't a coach, I think you'd be like, that guy seems cool. I'd talk to him, right?
Yeah.
If he was selling something else.
Cricket knows he's approachable.
Yeah, he's approachable. He looks like a nice guy. Whereas, like, I think Gruden, he just has like a resting bee face, right? I mean, you look at him, he's always scowling, and I don't know. I
don't know about that.
I don't know. I've never met. Unfortunately, I've never met John Gruden in real life. Right.
I think he's just a big believer in the Raider brand, and he's trying to just give that mentality, like I'm rough and tough, and
which I get. I mean, that's what you want, right? And, but I don't know. I feel like as a coach, if the kids don't believe in you, then you're lost.
Okay. I think we're going to find out real quickly then if these players believe in John Gruden or not.
100%.
So far, it looks like they're on a good path right now.
Yeah, and I think they got rid of their cancer before the season started.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah, even though I picked them up in a keeper league just in case.
Antonio Brown.
The lack of a smile thing, I find that interesting because I don't necessarily agree with it. I think Gruden, sometimes I see him with that little grimace, that little, he's a Rough Rider look to him.
I would even see that when he was the color guy for ESPN on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, he just has that look like, what's up? Like, are you going to try me kind of deal? Like, he looks like he's really about it. He loves those guys that can hit. His favorite player on the defense, Jonathan Abrams, hurt himself being too physical all the time. He's a Rough Rider, and so I think that might be some of his. He's just living his personality. I think you talk about how Pete Carroll is always himself, and he's very open, and every time you see him, it's him. I feel like that's Gruden's version. We don't always see it because he has to put on a head coaching face. You know about that. When you're on the sideline during games, you don't look like Coach Cal on the Bolt. There is a face you have to put on for game time because you got to show your guys, lead the way, and be the fundamental leader. If you'll speak on that.
No, I mean you're 100% right. I mean there's two different Justin Calendars, and then
I can see the animosity even from the booth over on the sideline. It's very great sight to see though.
Yeah, and I mean my mom tells me all the time. She's like, Justin, it looks like you're pretty upset and you're pretty hard on those kids, and I'm like, well, at the end of the day, we're here to win a football game, and whether it's setting up for next year and teaching them the right way and making sure that we're doing those little things, so when we get into a game down the road where we're reaching some adversity, we push through. So you do have a game face, and you want to make sure that you're doing those little things and pushing and holding kids accountable, because you let little things slide, little things become big things, and big things become huge things, right?
It's like a chain reaction with you. Like, all the players are looking up to you as an example, and if you do one little small snitch of an adjustment or a change, it's almost like a butterfly effect where it affects the whole history or the outcome of the team.
It does, and and that's one thing we did learn about making changes on the fly. It's like, you can't. Well, we didn't practice that. Well, let's just do it. We can do it. No. You can't.
Consistency.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Little League. We're not drawing up plays in the sand. I mean, we're playing, 4A high school football in the state of Washington, which is not Little League football anymore. I mean, 10 years ago, the state of football in the state of Washington was not where it is now. And with those academies, FSP, and Rise and those guys, they've raised the stakes. The 7-on-7 circuits and stuff like that, which, we are doing. The kids train almost year round, whether it's for football and other sports. But at the end of the day, I look at my own son. He's wrestling. He does track.
We got to broadcast some of his games for Kentridge too. Saw you with his jersey on in the bleachers
I
too.
know. That's the only time you'll see me in green. But that's a whole nother story about being a dad, and just not going out there to watch the game, and just being a dad and being a coach and sitting with my family and my ex-wife's family, and just enjoying watching him play. And there's no greater joy, and as any dad out there can attest, watching your son get out there and play and start in his first high school football game. I cried. I'm not gonna lie, and it's because of all that hard work, and dragging Parker, who's not a little guy anymore, around, all KM football practices since second grade, third grade. He's been around it forever, and and he loves it, and he loves the game of football, and he loves competing. And I think that's what I love most about being a coach and a dad is watching them compete, and day in and day out, and every play is its own little mini war. If you can look at that, and you try not to put football to war, because they're totally different things. And happy Veterans Day to everybody out there. But making sure that just push that and compete and play and do your best. The guy might beat you, but you know what? Next play, it might be your chance. And so that's the part that I try to instill on the boys and my own son. And he has it. He's a coach's son, and talking to other, even his coaches, they know. He's special. Don't get me wrong. I wish he played here at KM for me, but I think it's important to stay at your home school. I don't want kids jumping to come play for me if they're supposed to go to Kentridge or they're supposed to go to Kentwood. Stay where your friends are in your neighborhood and build that up. That's kind of what we're pushing with our kids is be that class to flip KM, and we're gonna do it.
I love the involvement. You were able to visit us in the press box too, and we got to witness firsthand the emotions you had for your son. So that's a great talk.
Yeah.
KGOG FM and HD1 Auburn, also broadcasting on K207 AP Sumner, Lake Taps at 89.3 FM. So you have the Colts as your 6th seed. We got to go to break right now. We'll be right back. Coming into it, we're going to talk about some more NFL stuff. We have power rankings to get into. You hear that sound. And then
we all know what that is.
Yeah, and then Boelt's Best Bet. We're going to make you guys some money. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're home for Saturday Morning Sports on 89.9 KGRG, The Boelt.
If you're a single man under the age of 35, you'd probably like to know what